needs to be made for the child. And in the very worst situation, that child can be in a public home designated for such purposes. But where practicable, every girl child is entitled. Her enjoyment of family life will be infringing on her rights as prescribed under the Nigerian law. And of course, we have those provisions in the Child's Right Act and also in the Constitution. Then, the girl's right to parental protection, to maintenance, to upkeep, to care. One of the things we see is that after a couple have come together and, they have children, sometimes priority is given to a male child over a female child. That is unlawful. That is unfair. That is repugnant to natural justice, equity, and good conscience. That is wrong. Every child deserves equal attention. Every child deserves equal enjoyment of the care, of the protection, and of the maintenance of their parents. So every girl child deserves that. It should not matter her gender. It should not matter that she is female. No child should be elevated over the other. So whatever issues or disputes may arise between parents, they should endeavor at all times to prioritize the care, the protection, the maintenance of their children, even so the female child. So every girl child has prescribed under the law her right to the enjoyment of parental care, protection, and maintenance. And of course, I have cited provisions of the Child's Right Act, Section 14 particularly. So it means that if for any reason a father or a mother decides that, why should I invest in a girl child? Why should I invest my affection or my finances or my time to the care, to the nurture, to the upkeep of a girl child? That girl child will get remedy from our courts if that child approaches the court. And anybody who also helps that child to, press for the respect, for the protection of that right from the court will, of course, be getting justice in the favor of the child. So there should be no excuse why a child is deprived of care, maintenance, and protection, even for a girl child. Sometimes you hear our people say things like afamefuna, as if to say that if it is a girl, the name may be lost. Of course, afamefuna in Igbo land or ahamefuna in Igbo land means may my name not be lost. And I think that derives from the patriarchal nature, the patrilineal system that we have in most Nigerian societies, more so in Igbo land where that name derives from. So it is perceived that it is a boy that, helps perpetuate a family name. But that's not quite true. I don't think it is true. It is not just enough to bear a name literally. It is more important the quality, the import of that name in the life the person leads. And we have many girls who have grown to become successful women and who have brought fame, pride, prestige to their families, whether they bear that name or not. Then, of course, the right to education. And interestingly, this right is provided statutorily. We have Section 2 of the Universal Free Basic Education Act that says every parent must ensure that their children go to school. Every child is guaranteed free universal basic education from primary school up to the level of junior secondary school. And of course, this means that every girl is also so entitled. So the practice where you sometimes find young girls taken away as house helps, to some families, and some of them end up not going to school, they are babysitting younger children of that home, is criminal. The law forbids it. The law says that that girl you're living with, that girl living in your home, that girl on your street is entitled to free universal basic education until that child finishes junior secondary school. Anybody who supports or who stops that child from going to school is liable to face the penalty of the law. And by the provisions of the law, at the first instance, the person may face just a caution and maybe a community service sentencing. But if it happens again, or if it continues, the law says that the person may be liable to a fine and to, about a month's imprisonment. And if it continues and maybe a report is made against that person for the third time or subsequent times, then the penalty continues to, be worse. So it is a serious matter, because the law realizes that no child can fully fulfill potential if that child is not exposed to the best possible education that that child can be availed of. And this includes a female child. If we think that a female child is instrumental, is important, is vital to raising a fresh generation, it then means that it is absolutely important that we invest in her education, because it is in investing in her education that we are equipping her with the necessary materials, the resources needed to raise and nurture a greater generation for our society. So every child, every girl is entitled to free universal basic education as provided under the Child's Right Act and also under the Universal Basic Education Act. The next we'll be talking about will be the right to life. Right to the protection from female genital mutilation and body marks. Now, we know that for most religions, there is religious justification for the circumcision of a boy child. More importantly for me, there is medical justification for the circumcision of a boy child. But there is no medical justification, neither am I aware of any religious law, any religious teaching, any religious belief that gives impetus to the mutilation of a girl child's genitalia in the name of circumcision. It is criminal, it is unlawful. And not just the mutilation of her private parts, also the infliction of any body marks, whether for cultural reasons or for, purported medical reasons or any of those spiritual reasons that people sometimes claim. The Child Rights Act prescribes punishment, penalizes any such action against a girl child. So whether you are the one inflicting it, or you are the one supporting it, or you are the one helping to cover it, the law forbids it. And it means that if you go ahead to participate in such things, you are exposing yourself to criminal liability, and you may be punished by the law. In fact, according to the Child Rights Act, it says that the person may be fined to up to 5,000 naira and or 1 month imprisonment when you inflict bodily marks, skin marks on a child. And for the purposes of this conversation, on a girl child. So it does not matter whatever excuse you have. The law does not permit it. Do not continue in those. And the truth is, some of those things which are done maybe in ignorance sometimes attack the dignity of the person of this child as they continue to grow. Sometimes some children are taunted in schools. Sometimes some children begin to feel self-conscious and lose their self-confidence. Why do you want to expose a child to that? Mind you, the commission of one crime may sometimes expose you to multiple liabilities, because when you commit the offense of, female genital mutilation on a girl child or inflicting bodily marks on a girl child, you may not only be liable for these two offenses, you may also be liable for attacking the dignity of her human person, because yes, that may adversely affect her sense of dignity. So please, shy away from such activities. Ignore some of those cultural excuses that people give for those. They are illegal. They are unlawful. It is criminal to perform female circumcision or female genital mutilation on a girl child. It is unlawful. It is a crime. Or to inflict bodily marks on her. It is an offense both under the VAP Act, and of course, though the VAP Act is operative in the Federal Capital Territory, most of our states have their variations which also capture that. And it is also an offense under the Child's Right Act, which also has its different adaptations across the states. Then the next we'll be talking about will be right to protection from child marriage, from prostitution, or from pornography. Now, these are distinct protections afforded a girl child under the law, but I choose to bring them together under one heading. And essentially, what the law is saying is, until a child attains the age of 18, where she is no longer a child, where she has come into the age of majority and can make informed decisions as to what she wants to do with herself, where she can lay claim to an informed agency of herself, of her body. Until then, anybody who puts a child in a situation that exposes her to any sexual activity has committed a crime. And as you will agree with me, child marriage is one of the ways that happen. And then, of course, pornography and prostitution. I know that there is religious justification for, conversations around child marriage, but then again, is there really a harm in allowing that child to fully develop to the point where that child can be useful, even in that home, in making a success of, maintaining a home and raising a fresh generation? So the law, the Child's Right Act particularly, forbids any activity that exposes a child to any of this. Every girl should be protected from early marriage. Every girl should be protected from prostitution. And every girl should be protected from pornography. Whether it is for the purposes of directly engaging with the child, or recruiting the child to engage with that with another person, the law forbids it. In fact, in the case of, child abuse, in the sense of rape of a child, sexual intercourse with a child, the penalty, both under the Child Right Act and the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act, is life sentence. That's to show you the severity of that offense. There are times we see videos of or hear of videos of, you know, children being defiled, children being subjected to, you know, extreme actions, to actions that are rated, activities that are rated 18. That is unlawful. Anybody who participates in that, who supports it, who indulges in it, who pleasures in it, who supports, in fact, who contributes to it, participates in it in any way, is liable under our law. And of course, the sentences vary. Even for things such as abuse that are not penetrative, fondling of their breasts, doing things like that, any sexual activity you conduct with a child is liable to punishment under our law. So, for penetrative sex or for rape, life imprisonment. For other forms of sexual abuse, about 14 years. The law says every child's dignity of her person should be respected and protected. Such activities defile the dignity of that child, and the law frowns seriously at it and advise that we also shy away from it and advise those around us not to engage in any of those. And then the next right we're discussing is her right to protection from drug abuse and criminal activities. Unfortunately, in many states across Nigeria, there is a growing spate of drug use, drug abuse among our young people. Whether by those who peddle them, or those who just give these children, or those who, you know, introduce them to the use of drugs, whatever role anybody plays towards exposing a girl to the use of drugs, you know, addictive drugs, intoxicating substance, that person is about to run foul of the law if the person does not desist from doing that further. The law protects every girl child from all forms of drug abuse or exposure to drug abuse, and also every criminal activity. So if anybody introduces a girl child, or, you know, forces a girl child or recruits her to engage in the abuse of addictive substance, that person can be liable under the law to, you know, a penalty of life imprisonment. And for other forms of criminal activities, it can be as high as 14 years imprisonment. So our law forbids the use of girls, or the exposure of girls, or the recruitment of girls to the use of drugs and any form of criminal activity, any form of activity. Girls are special beings in the sense that every child is a gift from God. Therefore, as gifts, they should be treasured, they should be protected, they should be guided in the right path. They should not be exposed to the things that may harm them, the things that may destroy them. And drugs kill. Criminal activities ruin. No child, no girl should be exposed to any of those. Otherwise, the person will have the law to contend with. Then the next right we'll be discussing, the 8th tonight, will be the right to protection from exploitative labor. We're all aware that some people think it is okay to take a little girl and keep that little girl in the home as a domestic staff. Nobody says it is wrong to foster a child. Fostering a child means, whether legally or traditionally, fostering a child means helping a child who is from an indigent background to enjoy a better life by affording that child to you know, a good home, education, good nutrition, clothing, and all of those. That is commendable. That is a good thing. But when that child is used for purposes of exploitative labor, and that child is brought into a home for the purposes of using that child as a house help, as a domestic help, or where that child is exposed to things like street hawking and the rest of them, then you are prizing jail time. The law forbids it, the law frowns sternly at it, and for every such exploitative labor, there could be a sentence of up to 10 years, depending on which the person has run foul of. So the law expects that every girl child should be protected from exploitative labor. It is okay for a child to perform, you know, domestic chores that are appropriate with her age. That is not exploitation. But where a child is brought in and exploited for domestic reasons or any other, like I mentioned, including things like hawking on the streets, then the person is in conflict with the provisions of the Child Rights Act, and the person may go in for it. Then the 9th will be the right to inheritance. Yeah, I know that in many communities in Nigeria, they think it is only men or the boys who are entitled to, you know, inherit from their parents. They think it's only the only the boys who are entitled to inherit from their parents. But the Supreme Court, in the case of UKJ versus UKJ, has made the bold proclamation. They have pronounced strongly that any custom, any tradition that deprives a girl child the right to inherit from her parents is contrary to natural justice. It is repugnant to good conscience. Therefore, every girl is entitled to inheriting from their parents, just as the boy is entitled to inheriting from their parents. And of course, the 10th right we're discussing tonight, which is the right to protection from all forms of discrimination as enshrined under the Nigerian Constitution. In fact, Section 41 of the Nigerian Constitution and Section 10 of the Child Rights Act gives impetus to this pronouncement of the Supreme Court. So you can actually read the both of them together, or whether you read them separately. What it simply means is that because the law forbids the discrimination against any person or the discrimination against a girl on the basis of her gender or the basis of her age, it therefore means that when you deprive her right to inheritance, you are discriminating against her and you are running foul of the law. So like I said, in UKJ versus UKJ, the Supreme Court has made that clear pronouncement, and it does not matter what any culture, any custom, any tradition says. Now, it's been brought to my attention by my technical support that there was some form of hitch earlier, and that you may have missed rights 1 to 4 that I mentioned earlier. So on that basis, permit me to take the rights that I listed from 1 to 4. The first right I mentioned at the commencement of this program was every girl's right to life and to the dignity of her human person. And I said that these rights are inalienable. You cannot remove it. It's not a right you have a choice to. You know, sometimes we hear that people pick and select, they pick and choose. I want a boy, I don't want a girl. And maybe when a woman has given birth to a girl, some men may begin to frown, or some women themselves may also begin to frown, because they think that a girl doesn't quite protect or assure of their stay in their husband's homes. Well, the law says that you cannot abuse a girl's right to life, and you cannot abuse her right to the dignity of her human person. So anything that attacks it, anything that violates it in any way, is an affront to the law, and the person may face consequences, civil and criminal. Then the next one I discussed was the right to a name and the right to family life. And I said that not only is a girl entitled to being named at birth or soon after birth, that girl's name must be entered in the register of births. That is what our law prescribes. And I said that one of the reasons why that is critical, why that is important, in addition to the fact that it affords that child the full enjoyment of her right to an identity, it also affords the girl the opportunity to be captured in the planning of infrastructure and other facilities or benefits by the Nigerian state. So that's part of the reason where you see that census and things like that happen from time to time. So when a child's name is omitted from the register of births, it means that you are keeping the existence of that child away from the knowledge of the Nigerian state, and it may adversely affect the quality of provision made for demographics that may include that child. Then the other will be right to parental care, protection, and maintenance. And these rights are enforceable. Under the Child's Right Act, a girl is entitled to protection from her parents, to maintenance from her parents, to care from her parents. So a girl should not be treated poorly, or treated shabbily, or treated with disdain, treated in lack because of her gender. This is a right that she can enforce before any court and get remedy. It does not matter the circumstances of her birth, whether her father married her mother or otherwise. Once that child is born, this is a right that she is entitled to, and every responsible parent, like I said, regardless the circumstances of the birth of a child, owes a duty to ensure that that child is afforded care, protection, and maintenance. And for the purposes of tonight's conversation, particularly the girl child. And then the fourth right, which will be the last that I'm recapping, will be the right to education. Interestingly, there are penalties when you do not respect or obey these rights. Every girl is entitled to her right to education. It is in her right to education that she is equipped to be the leader that the society expects her to be for tomorrow. Even if it is just to be the leader in nurturing her children. Even if it is children who becomes the future of another tomorrow. So the law says that every girl must be afforded free universal education, compulsorily, from primary school to junior secondary. There is no excuse whatsoever. And the law also says that where a girl maybe falls pregnant in the course of this period, immediately after childbirth, that child should be restored to school. Nothing should deprive that child with continuing in her education. So sometimes we see that, yes, there is some improvement in the number of girls who go to school. Sadly, that number does not follow through to retention. You find that more boys are retained in school than girls. And one of the reasons why girls, fall out of school include reasons that I've cited: teenage pregnancy, and in some instances where they are taken away as domestic support for works that are not appropriate for their age. So where that happens, the penalties range from a caution, community service sentencing, to as high as 2 months imprisonment or an optional fine, or both, depending on the frequency of infringement of that right. So that will bring me to the end of the 10 rights that every girl is entitled to in Nigeria. I imagine that if you have been listening to me at this point, you may have taken notes, and you may be well equipped to even be a lecturer yourself on the subject. And this now brings us to where we look to see those who have been watching and listening, because no intercourse is truly an intercourse if it is one way. It must be symbiotic. I talk to you, then I listen for your feedback or your questions. So just as I've been talking to you, now I'm listening to hear what you have to say to me. I see that Graceful is taking notes. Thank you, girl, for joining. Daniel says, great job. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you. Yobonna, thank you so much for joining us. You say, well done. Thank you. Thank you. And Glory Edohasem is also here with us. Thank you. Thank you, Glory. Thank you. I see a lot of people joining. Ital, thank you so much for the commendation. Thank you. I'm checking to see if there is any question. The practice. At every episode of the Late Night Intercourse, I first of all go through a presentation of the topic for the day, and then I pay attention to hear your questions or your comments. Of course, where I find questions, I respond to them. And where I see comments, I acknowledge them. And it's only after that has been done that I can then take my own question, and we have our winners. So, can you confirm that you have shared already? Have you shared? Have you shared the video? Because if you don't share, sorry, you will not qualify to win any of our data prizes. So if you have not, it's still a good time for you to share before I ask my question for tonight. And oh, thank you so much, my president. A commendation from my president is a big deal. He says, so kind of you, sir. He says, great job, always at my insightful best. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you, sir. Thank you for joining and watching. So I'm looking to see questions. If you'd rather call in and ask your question or make your comment, of course, as you all know, the number to call is 090 80 000 633. I'll take it again. 090 80 000 633. That if you'd rather make a call. But you can also just send your question or your comment, and I will see and read. I'm checking to see if we have questions or comments on other platforms. Let's check and see what we have on other platforms. Let's check and see what we have on other platforms. Let's check and see what we have on other platforms so that I don't miss any question before I ask mine. Let's check and see. Let's check and see. Let's check and see. I'm looking to see what's the question. There's a comment here, but I can't find it. I can't find it. This is your time to ask your question. No. If you don't ask your own question now, when I ask mine, you know you will have to answer. Else, you will miss the chance. Oh, thank you, Cree. Cree says this is an exciting late night intercourse. I should keep it up. Thank you so much. I'm glad that you find it exciting. Thank you, Christian. Thank you, Derry. That's from the page. Yes, let's check if there are comments on YouTube or a question on YouTube that we need to quickly respond to before we ask ours. Any question? Any question? Any question? Any question? Okay. I do not find a question, so that means I should go ahead and ask mine, so that you can all retire to the warm embrace of your significant other, or just go call up in your cozy beds, so I don't keep you up longer than necessary. Since you don't have a question, I guess I should be asking mine. Okay. My question tonight is, of the 10 rights that we have discussed tonight, the 10 fundamental rights of girls in Nigeria, the first 3 people to give me at least 4 of those rights, any 4 that resonates best with you, 4 of the 10 rights we discussed tonight, stands a chance to win. Of course, if we confirm that that person also shared this video on his or her wall. And as you know, it's usually a case of fastest finger. So, give me 4 of those rights. 4 of those rights. Which 4 resonates the best with you? Which 4 of the rights, 4 of this 10 that we have discussed, resonates the best with you? Which 4? I'm checking the different platforms to see. Which 4? Fastest finger. This is your opportunity to win a 5,000 Naira data subscription for the first prize, and then 2,000 Naira data subscriptions for maybe 2 other people as consolation prizes. I'm checking to see. Of the 10 rights we have discussed tonight, tonight's question is very simple. I expect answers to be flooding on the platforms. I'm checking the comment sections. Come on. You know, I don't like to leave you without someone winning my prize offers. You know, I don't like that. Elizabeth Alta says, right to life and dignity of a human person. Oh, she goes ahead to cite the relevant sections of the law that I gave you. Then right to a name and family life. Fantastic. Right to parental care, protection and maintenance. And right to education. Fantastic. Congratulations, Elizabeth. That means you came ready with your pen and paper. I love that. I love that. She did not only give me the 4, in fact, she gave me the first 4 rights that I mentioned. She also provided the statutory provisions for each of them. Thank you so much, Elizabeth Otter. You, of course, have won the first prize. You have won the first prize. Okay, a second. ONYENUCHEYA-UKO has sent in a response. He says, girl child have right to live, right to share property, need to be protected, and all of that. Okay, thank you so much for sending in your response. It's close, it's close, it's close. But when I give you something to confirm that you paid attention and that you got what I gave you, I want to see that you give it back to me. I'm not saying that you have to quote me verbatim, no. But then, even if it's in your own words, I need to be sure that it is what I gave you that you're giving me. So, we have Elizabeth as a sure winner, of course, for the first prize. And then I think I should also acknowledge Isaac. Oh, what's Isaac's surname? Torrentikaza. Yes, I think I got it correctly. Isaac Torrentikaza, and my other good friend, Leo Smart. Thank you so much to the both of you for sharing the earlier reminder, and for those kind gestures. Both of you have won yourselves data subscriptions. Of course, 2,000 Naira data subscriptions each. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Though I haven't seen any comments from either of you, but for the purposes of sharing the reminder earlier and inviting people to join. Oh, and of course, yes, my good friend who has been a serial winner on the talk show, Anthony Ekbete, thank you too for sharing. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I see that my sister Mabel Obudu also shared. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate you all. So it appears I have only one clear winner tonight. It appears I have only one clear winner tonight. After we sign off from the show, I don't want anybody's response popping up, because once the show is done, whatever other response we get will be inconsequential and will not count for the purposes of winning the prize. So, okay, since I do not find any other winner tonight, I think for making the effort, we will extend a consolation prize to ONYENUCHEYA-UKO Mike. Thank you so much for participating. God bless you. And this will be a good place to call it a wrap for tonight. Congratulations, Elizabeth Alza. And again, thank you to Isaac Torrentikaza and Leo Smart for sharing the reminder videos ahead of, 10 p.m. I appreciate you all. And like I said, you also won yourselves some gifts for me in the form of data subscriptions. And for those of you who are joining us for the first time, please always make it a date with us every Thursday at 10 p.m. On this show, we discuss matters within the family law spectrum. And if you may, I will appreciate if you can just send us a suggestion on whatever topic it is you want us to discuss. Any topic, whatever it is, so long as it is a topic within, around family law. Anything, we'll be happy to bring it on and dissect it on the late night intercourse. So please send in your suggestions. You can send it in the comment section. You can send it on Messenger. You can send it as a WhatsApp message to the number published on the screen. You can send it to us via email, latenightintercourse@gmail.com. Any of those medium works. Oh, Glory Edohasim just sent in her own answer. Right to inheritance, right to education, right to family life and the name, right against underage marriage. Brilliant responses, Glory. Congratulations, you also won yourself a consolation prize. And that is where we rest it tonight. I wish you a very restful night and see you at next week's episode of the Late Night Intercourse. As usual, it's been your host, Chioma ONYENUCHEYA-UKO, the Zest family lawyer. Good night. Another thing I think happens once there's a delay